little bit. I don't know. He's not been as good as I hoped he would be on the main roster. Whether that's partially his fault and partially the booking, it's probably a little bit of both. But I put him on here. A little disappointed in him.
He also made my list. I am now not going to use him because I'm trying to be a little bit different. Like I said, I had a feeling he was going to be on your list. I agree with everything you said, and I think his moveset is kind of stale too. His matches. He doesn't have bad matches, but he doesn't have those Shawn Michaels show-stealing matches. To be frank. So, all right. So if I'm not going to go with Owens, I'm going to have to go. I'm going to say Nakamura. You can attest to this, knowing me. I've been a very, very big fan of Shinsuke Nakamura since I started watching New Japan heavily in probably 2014, 2015. I love his style. I am a big fan of him in the ring. I was a big fan of him in the ring in New Japan. Since he's come to NXT, aside from the first match he had with Sami Zayn, and much of that can be attributed to Sami Zayn and how well he sells into the professional that he is, I think his matches have been largely, I don't want to say underwhelming, but they haven't been that blow away, oh my god, this is why he's here kind of match. He had a really good match. What was his second one with Samoa Joe? He had so many matches with Samoa Joe, and you look at that match on paper, you're like, man, that's a match I can't miss. Then you watch it, and you're like, yeah, it was good, but can I build a brand around this guy for somebody who people are pushing to the moon right now? And I think, honestly, right now, the answer is no. So, Nakamura made the list.
Okay. Now I'm torn on what to do. I have two guys left. I'll just go with my initial.
Did Nakamura cross your mind?
So he's on my list. He was my first guy that I had. I was going to have him number one. So I'll just talk about him now, since you just brought it all up. So I'm with you on all that pretty much. I think
and it sucks because I love him, and it doesn't mean we don't like these people. I want to say that because what you said about Kevin Owens is exactly how I feel about Nakamura.
And I think with Nakamura, I've seen some of his stuff in Japan. I can't say that I've seen all of his stuff, and I haven't watched extensively. I've seen maybe 10 matches or a dozen matches or something like that he had in Japan. So, and they were very good. And I think he comes in with the reputation of you almost expect him to have a 5-star classic every time he's out there.
Yes.
And he now if it's because he's limiting what he's doing in the ring, or he's getting a little older, or they want him to work a different style, whatever it might be. That really hasn't been the case. He came in with that match against Zayn, and it was obviously off the charts. Everyone loved it, and I thought it was really great. But like you said, the matches he had with Samoa Joe were kind of good, not great, right? And he had the match with Rude, that was good, not great. He had the match with Balor, I thought that was good, not great. It was kind of there, but not awesome. So maybe he's going to come up to the main roster soon, and maybe he's going to work with a guy like AJ Styles, and maybe they'll knock it out of the park, and it'll switch it around a little bit. But
they did last year at Wrestle Kingdom. That was
So I think that's why I had him here too. I'm not a big fan of his his promo work and his talking. I have.
Is it because he doesn't speak English clearly?
Yeah, I have a significant issue with
Unbelievable.
that. So it's
the Great Muta didn't speak English.
He didn't need to.
Because he had Gary Hart.
He had Gary Hart. And I was legit afraid of him back in 1980.
God, he was great, wasn't he? He was amazing.
But Nakamura tries, and I can't understand his promos, and it really affects my perception of him. I'm I don't know what this guy's talking about, and I don't want to hear him speak.
Really?
I don't want him blowing green mist at anybody or anything like that.
It's an option.
But so I had him on my list, so I'll leave him. I'll leave that as my number 2 on the list. So.
I'm okay with you not being able to speak on the mic at all if you put on consistent, fantastic matches. I admittedly care less about mic work and promo skills than you do. I think which to me that's what I put emphasis on. Everybody's different, but like you said, Nakamura, you expect these 5-star matches, and when you see his matches at Wrestle Kingdom with Ibushi, with AJ Styles, even with Carl Anderson a couple of years ago, you know what he's capable of. And I think what you said about, is it the fault of the WWE or the fault of him? It's the same thing with Kevin Owens. I think it's a little bit of both. His style definitely is handcuffed, and it is, I don't want to say watered down, but he had to tweak it because there's a lot of things he can't do. I toyed with putting somebody else on my list, but I'm We talked about him. All right, so who am I? I'm up to my number
2.
So I had Rude, I had Nakamura, I had New Day.
Yeah.
Right now, Undertaker for me. I'm sick of hearing about The Undertaker. I'm sick of hearing about The Undertaker's WrestleMania matches. I'm sick of seeing The Undertaker pop up at Royal Rumble. No disrespect to the years and years and years of professional wrestling that he's given us, but I no longer care who he's going to wrestle at Mania. I have zero interest in any of his matches in the last 4 years, 5 years maybe. And I feel like he's, just there for a payday at WrestleMania, and no fault, of his, but he's not what he once was, and nobody expects him to be because he's been doing this for damn near 30 years. But his time has passed, and if you're not going to come in and put the other guy over, I have no use for you at this point. So number 2 for me is The Undertaker.
Okay. The other person I had, which I was going to flip-flop Nakamura and him, but since I figured we just go into Nakamura since we touched on him, was I had EC3 on there from TNA.
Wow, what a call!
He's been a main event guy there for a while, and I remember when he first started there a couple of years ago. His gimmick was really good, and he was talking on the mic very well, and he kind of built up an undefeated streak for a long time. But I've never really seen him in a good match. I just haven't not
even a great match, a good match.
Yeah, some of the stuff I remember at the end of last year, end of 2016. TNA, obviously being TNA about themselves, didn't have TV taped for the last 2 weeks of the year, so they ended up doing a best of shows, and one of them was from the Hardys, and featuring the Hardys, and the other one was just kind of their best matches, and there's really matches that he was in with Matt Hardy, pre-broken Matt Hardy gimmick and the title and all this type of stuff, and it was just I don't remember any of this, and none of it was very good, and he's kind of big and lumbering, and he's, I don't know, I just don't really see it, so. I like him, as far as his gimmick is concerned, but I just don't, when he's wrestling matches now, I have no interest almost in watching it, and I don't really want him around the title anymore. I used to think he was the best gimmick they had, and now I'm kind of sour.
Because they haven't developed this gimmick. I think he's the same. Kind of reminds me of The Miz, to be honest with you. I put him in, Miz is a little bit more polished, but kind of put him there with Miz. So, for me, my number 1 is going to be Sasha Banks. Her, Becky, Bayley, and Charlotte Flair are the 4 horsewomen. Out of those 4 women, I feel like Sasha Banks, unfortunately, has come over as the weakest. She also has that stigma of being, the best women's wrestler on the roster. I don't see it. I haven't seen it in her matches. That could be said for Bayley too, but I feel like for Sasha, she, people think she's the best thing since sliced bread. I don't. For me, it's just not there, and she's very, very small, which is fine. But I think she needs to wrestle that way. And her matches with Nia Jax have been terrible. I'm assuming she's going to have another terrible match with Nia. Not terrible, but less than stellar. Underwhelming. I think she's going to have another underwhelming match where she probably takes a loss again this Sunday. But, everybody kind of puts the emphasis on those girls, but you go over to SmackDown and you have Becky Lynch and Mickie James doing really good things, and you have Natty and Nikki doing really good things. So those are Joe is just pulling up pictures on Twitter. He should probably, is that Velvet Sky?
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, if you could not pull up Velvet Sky pictures.
I was just scrolling through, man. I don't know what I'm having to catch your eye there.
But how do you feel about Sasha Banks? You with me on that, or yeah?
I find all of them to be relatively interchangeable right now.
Even Charlotte?
Yeah, I guess of the 4 that you mentioned, I think she's the best one right now. I think they all kind of go through periods of hot and cold, right? They have parts where they're going through good matches, and then there's times where I feel like their characters get kind of dull. So I think Sasha's kind of gone up and down as far as her popularity and stuff like that. Same thing with Bayley. I think she's, she was came in with a lot of fanfare, and then she cooled down significantly with the fan reactions and stuff like that. So I don't think Sasha's I don't know. I don't know. It depends on who you talk to, right? Some people think she's the best one. Some people think she's not. Like, I think she's just as good as any of the other ones. They're all kind of mixed to me.
Yeah, BK is a huge fan of Sasha Banks, so I don't want him to get mad at me. But I see what you're saying about interchangeable, because there's only so many times you could wrestle one another, right? There's no other.
Yeah, it's the same combinations of wrestlers.
Matches all over and over and over and over. Is there anything else, buddy? Anything else you want to talk about this week? We got the 5 count in. We talked about Ring of Honor. Talked about Fastlane predictions. Anything else you want to touch on?
No, I don't think so. I mean, I don't know if we want to get into the whole
SmackDown.
Yeah, well, at least the ending, the whole Bray Wyatt, Randy Orton thing.
Actually, there's something I did want to talk about SmackDown. We have 5 minutes. I like the ending. Were you a fan of the ending?
I was lukewarm on the ending.
Okay. Randy Orton, I think Bray Wyatt saw that segment, the way he reacted. I think he did a really good job. Randy Orton was a little too robotic in his promo, but I thought it was something different. It was cool. But who's the good guy? Who's the bad guy?
Right, like I felt bad for Bray.
I actually legitimately felt bad.
Yeah.
I was watching it. I was watching it last night. I watched it again, and I was like, Randy's like, why are they cheering? He burnt the grave of Bray Wyatt's dead sister. What's next, Katie Vick? You want to bring that back?
Yeah, I don't know. It was I felt kind of bad for Bray. So I think the idea is that Orton comes off as the good guy and Bray comes off as the bad guy. But watching it, I didn't necessarily feel that way. Realistically, there hadn't been any issues between the two of them on TV, teased for quite a while, ever since they joined. So it was kind of out. I don't want to say out of nowhere because that's like a thing,
the RKO pun. Nice.
I didn't expect it. Maybe that's what they were going for, but it kind of makes Orton seem like a jerk to me.
Right? Bray was kind of putting him on a pedestal. And last week you saw Orton looking at the title belts, but there was nothing. I heard somebody say, I forget who said it, but they were like, if Bray made Orton go through an initiation of some sorts, but no. 2 weeks ago, Randy was like, yeah, man, it's your title belt. Love you, drop to a knee and genuflect, and now all of a sudden it's like, it's mine, Bray. It's like,
yeah, it's a little bit
where's it? Yeah, the angle was good. The execution of the angle was good, but the lead up to it. So now, the problem I have is now AJ Styles has to wrestle again to get his number one contenders match at WrestleMania against Bray Wyatt. It's obvious AJ's going to lose that match, and then he's going to take it out on Shane McMahon. But I could not think of a worse use for AJ Styles at WrestleMania. It's maddening because he's obviously so over, and I don't like it. I don't like it at all. At least put him in a triple threat match. Maybe I think that would be a good resolution because those 3 guys would have a phenomenal son of a bitch. You're saying out of nowhere, those 3 guys would have a tremendous match, and I think it would be great. But I can see why they'd want to do 1-on-1 with Bray and Randy. I just wish they didn't screw AJ along the way.
Yeah, I mean it's been interesting, I guess, with that too. He's legit won everything right that they put in front of him, or at least he was in the battle royal, right, and he tied, I guess, right? Then he had to beat Harper, so he did that
twice. He beat Shane, restarted the match, and he pinned Harper again.
Yeah, so it's I see where they're going with it. I mean, I don't know how the whole thing with him and Shane's going to go. I guess we'll talk about that as it gets a little bit closer and as it kind of moves on. But it's a little bit discouraging. That's all I got.
Now we're leaving on that note. The Natural did want me to tell you that she's a wrestling fan, of course, and she was at work today. She was talking wrestling with her boss, whose initials are actually KO. So he's a big Kevin Owens fan. He actually kind of looks like Kevin Owens.
Big Cassius Ohno fan.
Yes. Kyle O'Reilly fan.
There you go.
Kyle Oak fan, actually. They're all KO. And this jack-off from across the way comes over to her, and he's like, wrestling's fake, right?
Did he tell her Santa Claus was fake too? You throw that out there?
No, but she then responded with, she says, how about I hit you with a pop-up powerbomb right now and you tell me how fake that is?
Wow.
And then
That's bold.
She never met this guy. And then he showed her. He was boasting about how he could chest press 105-pound dumbbells.
You know what it sounds like this guy should do?
What?
You know, I don't know if you follow the religion or if you partake in Catholicism. There's the Ash Wednesday was the other day, and Lent has begun.
Yeah.
This guy should give up talking because he's really not doing anybody